Got a little bit of wire that's grown inside the log. Hopefully we can avoid that. Hey guys, I'm Evan. Welcome to Country View Acres. So last week we ended up cutting down 5 trees back here behind the firewood shed. Today we're going to be cutting those up into firewood. So I was using the grapple to pick up some of the bigger logs, hold them out to the side so I could just cut off firewood rounds up in the air where it's easier to get to. Now these smaller ones I'm cutting along the ground, and you're bending over, and I've been doing it for about an hour now, and my back's getting fairly sore. You can see that the smaller logs won't fit in here. You got to have about a 12-inch diameter for it to grab it fairly tightly. But I was looking this over, and I've got another idea to maybe cut some of these smaller logs up and get them up off the ground. I'm going to go ahead and sharpen my chain, and while I'm doing it, I thought I'd go ahead and flip the bar over. I haven't ever flipped the bar on this, so all the wear is on the bottom part of the bar, so you got to flip it over every so often so that you wear both sides evenly. So what I'm using here to do this with is a stump vise. If you haven't seen one, you just pound it into a stump. It gives you a nice little clamp to be able to clamp your chainsaw. It actually comes in fairly handy when you're not at your garage or something out in the woods. Well, note to self, when you flip your bar over, you also got to flip the chain around the other direction too, so the chain's on backwards. That means I actually got to take it out of the stump vise and flip my chain around as well. One thing I like about a steel chain is it actually has one of the links is colored. This one is yellow, so that tells me where I start and where to end when I sharpen the saw. And the first time I've used one of these all-in-ones sharpeners, I used it in a video, and I said I wasn't for sure I liked it. And since then, I've taken that video down. This is actually my favorite way to sharpen a chainsaw, is one of these, I guess it's a 2-in-1 sharpener. So you just can't go out and buy one. You gotta match it to your chain and file size. So you gotta kind of know exactly which is the correct one to buy, but these are definitely the, I guess, the easiest way to sharpen consistently. Just kind of gotta learn how to hold it with like 2 fingers on it. At least that's how I do it. 2 fingers on it to press down, and then you can do it one-handed. I thought it was kind of awkward trying to do it two-handed. You definitely had to have it in a vise to be able to do it using both hands. But I've learned the one-handed method, and now this is my favorite way. Well, I have a pretty good pile of firewood started so far, so that's at least 4 foot tall over there. This is probably at least 12 foot long. I'm almost halfway. I think this log right here will be halfway once I get it cut up. And then I've still got a few here, and then I've got a couple small ones over there to do. But getting close to the halfway point. Most of these are long enough I can pick up with the grapple of the tractor though. So after I got this cut up last night, I called it quits. It got too dark. I've still got 4 little logs here and then 3 over there left to cut up today. So this is the stack of firewood we have so far, and I still need to stack all that I cut up last night. So today I'm going to try to work smarter, not harder. I'm going to try to use the grapple more for carrying some of these heavy pieces of wood. So all this stuff that I cut up last night, that is probably the biggest pieces I have. I'm going to try to pick those up with the grapple, get them close to where I'm stacking it. And then these pieces back here, I'm going to try to pick them up and then carry them back. And then when I cut them up, hopefully I can get them cut up right here in front of the pile of firewood that we made, so that I can just not have to carry it but a couple feet. And hopefully everything will go a little bit smoother today. All right, I finally got everything cut up but the stumps, and the stumps are I'm gonna gain a little bit, 3 or 4 rounds that are pretty big. All right, so from the end of this wood to where it starts angling down on that side is 15 feet, and then right here is 4 feet. So on average, we're 4 feet tall. So that's roughly 2/3 of a cord of wood that we ended up with from all these trees we cut down back here behind the firewood shed. And I cut mine 18 inches long. That's standard firewood that you probably buy off of somebody. They cut it at 16 inches. So it's a little bit longer than what I would call standard firewood. And that's just what fits in my fireplace and wood stove better. And I use this woodcutter's helper to help cut it to length. And the reason I like it is such a narrow profile. See how it fits in there behind the dog, the spike on the chainsaw? It just basically is, it's kind of hidden back in there. It doesn't get in your way when you're cutting up firewood. And I don't have the eye to be able to just sit there and eyeball it and cut it the right length. If I did that, they would be all over the place. And that's the reason I use this. It just works better for me. So I've had people ask me what trees were these that we cut down. Well, there was a bunch of the smaller ones were walnut. So you can see the walnut center, except, you know, this is what you would use for lumber. Of course, that's not even as wide as my hand. So it's not big enough that you could have cut that into lumber. It's only really good for firewood. And then there's 2 other types of trees here. Now this one, I'm pretty sure that this one right here is a maple, a soft maple right there. And then this tree right here and this tree right here are the same, and it's some type of a fast growing tree. You can see the rings are almost as wide as my finger. So if you think about how big, that's probably 3/4 to an inch in diameter a year. You count these rings up, this tree is only like 20 years old. So that's a fairly fast growing tree. Just not sure what it is exactly. So some of this wood may not be very good to burn as firewood, and those soft maples are notorious for going rotten. And you can see toward the top a little bit, it already had a hole forming in the top of the tree. It was already starting to rot out in the center. And that's what a lot of them soft maples around here seem like they're notorious for, is just going rotten, going hollow, and then limbs just continually falling out of them. So today was definitely easier than yesterday. I just need to remember to use the Grapple more and let it do the heavy lifting, plus try to get everything closer to where I'm stacking it before I cut it up. And I think everything would go a lot better. So next week I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna start cutting these stumps out of here, and they're gonna be tricky. So these stumps, they are growing over the concrete, so I don't wanna dull the chain in the concrete, and then they're actually growing around the post of the shed. So I have to cut them out without accidentally cutting the post, or I'll just have to replace the post. But you can see, like this one right here, you can see the stump has grown around 3 sides of it. Plus it's grown over the concrete a little bit. So that's what I plan on doing next weekend. I got a little bit of cleaning up to do around here because I need to make myself some space so I can cut this up with the chainsaw. So I'm gonna have to do a little tidying up before we get to that. And then we'll kill the stumps with some stump killer to make sure that they don't grow back. But that'll be next weekend. So I've got all the firewood stacked outside the woodshed at this end, and that's to basically just keep it somewhat out of my way as I try to fix up the woodshed. So the idea is I'm actually gonna start at that end, and I'm gonna start straightening the building up and leveling everything out and just try to fix it and work my way across this way as I fix up the shed. And I'll probably just take one section at a time and fix it up as I come down. And then this firewood will at least be out of my way for the first half of fixing it up. But I am so glad this is all cleaned up now. The job's basically done, except for cutting out the stumps, but everything's cleaned up. It looks a lot better out here. The only thing that's left on the ground is small sticks that we'll cut up with probably with a lawnmower, you know, mulch it up with a lawnmower, and everything will be just fine. But I think that's gonna be it for today's video. Just gotta come back and get these stumps out of here, and I think that'll be a challenge in itself. But that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.